The world does not fear the loud man. It studies him, predicts him, contains him. Noise is measurable. But the man who does not speak fractures the room. His silence creates pressure. It interrupts expectation. And expectation is the invisible contract holding society together. Human beings are wired for response. Conversation is ritual. Reaction is currency. When you refuse to react, you break the exchange. The nervous system of everyone around you begins searching for signals. It finds none. That absence becomes threat. Throughout history, the most dangerous figures were not the loud tyrants, but the quiet observers, the general who paused before battle, the emperor who listened more than he spoke. Restraint was not weakness. It was calibration. This is strategic absence. It is not retreat. It is controlled removal from emotional exchange. When insulted, you do not defend. When provoked, you do not escalate. You deny friction. Without friction, aggression collapses inward. Psychologists call it the vacuum effect. The human mind cannot tolerate empty space. When you offer no reaction, others project into you. They fill the silence with confession, insecurity, assumption. They reveal structure while you remain unreadable. Being forgotten is the ultimate power move. In a culture addicted to visibility, disappearance creates tension. Scarcity intensifies attention. When you withdraw from constant exposure, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability destabilizes control. Predictability invites manipulation. Visibility invites analysis. But strategic invisibility denies both. You cannot be mapped if you do not broadcast your emotional climate. You cannot be cornered if your reactions are withheld. Silence builds informational starvation. Others crave clarity about you. When you refuse to supply it, they construct narratives. Most of those narratives elevate you beyond reality. Mystery expands perceived depth. The Stoic trains for this. Not muteness, but composure. Not avoidance, but discipline. He governs impulse before engaging the world. He understands that every unnecessary word is leverage surrendered. The foundation of silence is simple and brutal. Withdraw from emotional compulsion, withhold unnecessary visibility, and let the vacuum effect do the work. The world fears the silent man because he cannot be decoded, and what cannot be decoded cannot be controlled. Silence alone is not power. Structure is. The Stoic does not merely stay quiet, he builds internal architecture. Emotional control is engineered, not improvised. While others operate on impulse, he operates on design. Control begins with perception. Most people react to events as if events carry inherent meaning. The Stoic rejects this. Meaning is assigned, not delivered. When you refuse to label something as insult, threat, or disrespect, it loses force. Interpretation is the first battlefield. Strategic minds understand tempo. In American corporate rooms, political arenas, even social circles, speed is used as dominance. Quick responses signal engagement, but delayed response signals hierarchy. The one who controls timing controls tension. Emotional detachment is not coldness. It is filtration. Instead of absorbing every external stimulus, the Stoic filters it. He asks, is this within my control? If not, it is discarded. This mental gatekeeping creates stability that others mistake for superiority. In a culture driven by outrage cycles and constant commentary, restraint feels rebellious. The person who does not react to headlines, trends, or attacks appears insulated. That insulation is not ignorance. It is sovereignty. Stoic logic becomes dangerous when applied consistently. If praise does not inflate you and criticism does not shrink you, you cannot be steered. External forces lose leverage. Manipulation requires emotional hooks. Remove the hooks and influence weakens. Observe high-level interrogations. The composed figure speaks last, pauses longer, reveals less. Information asymmetry forms. The side with fewer emotional leaks holds advantage. This principle applies everywhere, from boardrooms to relationships. There is also strategic emotional neutrality. Not every battle deserves acknowledgement. When you ignore minor provocations, you train others to recalibrate. They either escalate and expose themselves or withdraw. Either outcome benefits you. The Stoic does not chase dominance. He removes instability. Stability creates gravitational pull. People lean towards certainty. When your internal structure does not shift under pressure, you become that certainty. The architecture of Stoic control is built from interpretation, timing, filtration, and restraint. Master these and you become unmovable. And the unmovable individual is the most dangerous presence in any system because systems cannot manipulate what they cannot disturb. Most conflicts survive on emotional participation. Anger requires reaction. Drama requires audience. Outrage requires amplification. Remove participation, and the structure begins to decay. Emotional non-participation is not avoidance. It is structural sabotage. When someone provokes you, they are attempting to regulate their internal state through your response. If you react, you complete their circuit. If you remain composed, the circuit overloads. The tension has nowhere to go. It returns to its source. This is dominance without aggression. You do not attack. You do not defend. You simply refuse to supply emotional fuel. In modern America, where reaction is currency and controversy is profitable, restraint becomes power precisely because it is rare. Watch high-level negotiations. The strongest presence is rarely the loudest. It is the one who listens longer, reveals less, and allows silence to stretch. Silence shifts discomfort onto the impatient. Impatience reveals weakness. Emotional non-participation creates cognitive imbalance in others. They expect resistance. They expect argument. When none arrives, they question their footing. Doubt seeps in. Doubt erodes certainty. Certainty eroded becomes vulnerability. The Stoic understands that every visible reaction is a data leak. Facial tension, tone shifts, defensive explanations, these are signals. When you discipline expression, you protect position. Information asymmetry forms quietly in your favor. There is a brutal paradox here. The less you attempt to dominate, the more dominant you appear. Because you are not competing for control, you seem already in control. Effortless composure reads as hierarchy. In digital culture, emotional volatility is constant. Outrage cycles reset daily. Those who refuse to participate rise above the turbulence. They appear anchored, and humans instinctively gravitate toward what appears stable in chaos. Non-participation also filters relationships. Manipulators disengage when their tactics fail. Drama seekers move toward easier targets. What remains around you are those capable of emotional regulation. Your silence restructures your environment. Psychological. Dominance through emotional non-participation is quiet, but absolute. You conserve energy. You protect leverage. You allow others to unravel without interference. And in a world addicted to reaction, the one who refuses to react becomes the axis around which others rotate. Most men react. The dangerous Stoic calculates. When emotion floods the room, he becomes ice. Not because he feels nothing, but because he refuses to be owned by what he feels. In an age addicted to outrage, detachment is dominance. The man who does not instantly respond cannot be steered. Algorithms reward impulsivity. Power rewards restraint. Criticism is bait. Praise is bait. Both are hooks designed to pull you into predictable motion. The Stoic studies the hook and declines to bite. The emperor who ruled an empire practiced internal sovereignty first. His power did not come from legions. It came from mastery over reaction. The battlefield was the mind. Detachment is strategic distance. Distance creates perspective. Perspective creates precision. When you step back emotionally, you see patterns others miss, and patterns decide outcomes. Silence during attack destabilizes the aggressor. They expect friction. They prepare for resistance. What they do not prepare for is vacuum. The absence of reaction forces them to confront themselves. Most cannot handle that mirror. Modern culture monetizes your triggers. If they can predict your outrage, they can predict your behavior. The Stoic who refuses emotional predictability becomes economically and psychologically untouchable. Detachment is not isolation. It is selective engagement. He chooses where to invest attention. Attention is life force. Waste it and you weaken. Guard it and you become rare. Emotional regulation is not softness. It is controlled aggression. The Stoic stores energy instead of spilling it. When action finally comes, it is not frantic. It is surgical. The world mistakes calm for weakness. It confuses silence with fear. But the man who has severed his dependence on validation, approval, and reaction cannot be manipulated. And a man who cannot be manipulated cannot be controlled. Power is not noise. It is structure. While the world chases attention, the Stoic builds internal architecture, brick by brick, thought by thought. The final evolution of Stoic logic is self-command. No crowd decides his direction. No trend rewrites his code. He audits his own mind daily, removing weakness like a surgeon removes disease. Fear is currency in modern society. Outrage is fuel. Panic spreads faster than truth. The Stoic does not consume fear media. He understands that mental diet shapes mental destiny. The slave-turned-philosopher taught a brutal principle: control what you can. Disregard what you cannot. Most men reverse this, obsessing over the uncontrollable while neglecting their own discipline. That is why they remain fragile. Resilience is engineered, not improvised. The Stoic rehearses adversity, mentally, loss, betrayal, failure. He visualizes impact before impact arrives. When reality strikes, it feels familiar, not fatal. Composure under scrutiny terrifies opponents. Emotion reveals leverage. Calm reveals nothing. The unshakable mind becomes unreadable. And what cannot be read cannot be strategically attacked. Systems collapse. Economies fluctuate. Reputations evaporate overnight. If your identity is built on external scaffolding, you collapse with it. The Stoic builds identity on principle, not position. Solitude does not intimidate him. Dependence does. He would rather stand alone in truth than sit comfortably in illusion. This independence makes him socially unpredictable and strategically dangerous. The ultimate power is internal stability, not dominance over others, dominance over impulse, fear, ego, and craving. Most people spend life negotiating with their weaknesses. The Stoic issues commands. This is why Stoic logic is dangerously powerful. It creates individuals who cannot be emotionally hijacked, socially programmed, or psychologically cornered. In a world engineered for distraction and dependency, the unshakable mind is rebellion, and rebellion, when disciplined, becomes authority.